either. These have been useful, however, inasmuch as they have called, and even compelled, attention to the phenomenon which they produce, and which cannot be explained away, nor accounted for, save by admitting two things. First, the immortality is a fixed fact, and second, that it is possible to bridge the hitherto impassable chasm which divides earth from the regions which lie beyond. The fourth kind, and truest and best, indeed that which is only truly spiritual, is the growing up into spiritualized out of the merely physical selfhood. And this growth of soul necessarily admits the subject of it into the mysteries of being, precisely in accordance with the degree of the person's own unfolding. It is the offspring of good resolutions, well and faithfully carried out, ignores pride, talk, lust, hatred, envy, malice, slander, and all else which characterizes the other three sorts. Immortality is to such not only an acquired, but an intuitive fact. Such spiritualists are good, moral, humane, charitable, merciful, kind, and true, religious, Christian in deed as well as name. And such as these are never pulling down, but ever building up the good, the beautiful, and the true. And when such one dies, his or her stay in the middle state is very short, for they have paid their ferriage and are speedily intromitted to the mysteries of the grandeurs of the world of soul. Such an one is unfolded, and by this term it is not meant that the state in which man arrives after packing the contents of 2 or 3 libraries on the shelves of his memory, nor the condition of one who has arrived at honor and distinction by the dint of mere acquaintance with learned authorities, and the accumulation of piling up knowledge of various and common popular sorts. For it has frequently happened that men and women who are very ignorant of all these things, and who, so far as they are concerned, are not progressed at all, prove on trial to be far more unfolded than thousands of those who have grown gray in the service of letters, and who have, by persistent assiduity, succeeded in transforming themselves from human beings into locomotive encyclopedias, splendid to look at, interesting to dine with and talk to, but cold, unearthful cyclopedias after all. Education is often a mere mechanical mastery of useless abstrusities, coins which the social counters jingle well, but which are not over and above current in far-off worlds, where a boor's interest prayers weighs far more than the ordinate, rhapsodical or orisons of scores of learned pedants, pretenders to superior knowledge, who, to judge them by their language, take God to be a school committee rather than loving, tender parent. Thus I found true what had previously been surmised, that a person may know but little, yet approach much nearer the divine than one who has a brain furniture with a great deal less heart. It was revealed to my understanding that the great law of gestation, by whose operation the monad develops moss, threw it off and brought forth something better and higher, until at last the conscious point, the truly human degree, was, thereafter the lapse of ages, reached, did not cease its function even after the death of the body, albeit its mode and action was somewhat changed and modified. For now it was observed by me that while the soul may, both prior and subsequent to death, draw in knowledge from without inspiration, progression, possession, it may also expand from within, and enter consecutively domain after domain in the soul deeps of the inmost infinite being. This is aspiration, unfolding, development, and ever will the immense and immortal thing continue to vastate the bad, the ill, imperfect, and untrue, so long as such remains to be thrown off, as it has been doing ever since the clock of time struck upon the bell of eternity's tower. It will continue the process until the tower itself shall topple and fall with hoary age. The figure of an onion, though homely, is nevertheless a good one, inasmuch as it offers a familiar illustration of the monad. For, first there are 2 or 3 external skins, after which comes a layer after layer, until at last we find a center, which center contains an invisible because spiritual point, which constitutes a germ or seed principle, containing latent in its bosom countless acres of onions, and that are and are not, at the same time, fields of plenty, seeds of mighty harvest, which only need the necessary conditions to prove their power and develop their capacities. Philosophers have long sought with their crude plummets and sound the bottomless abysses of man's immortal soul. Spiritualists, in their turn, have tried to do the same. Aye, and loudly boasted of their success. Success, forsooth! Why their lead, even when all the line attached thereto was well run out, rested on one or more of their very topmost ledges of their unfathomable and vast profound, their ways only lodged on the upper crags of one or more of the tiniest mountains, whose heads are upreared from the floor of the great ocean's soul. Proclaiming man to be a world in miniature, they have, in their treatment of him and his, not only belied and stultified themselves, but have shown that, after all, he was to be classed with all others, worms of the dust, a semi-voluntary automation, a skipjack, to be coaxed, wheedled, and driven just as circumstances might dictate in degree. Theoretically, to them, he is a god, practically a mere machine, whose office function is to eat, drink, be merry, sleep, wake up, labor, and beget his kind, whose destiny in turn is to repeat the same identical round, with perhaps a few trifling and unimportant variations, totally forgetful and unconscious of the fact that when pronouncing him to be a microcosm, they were uttering a sentence brimful of God's everlasting truth. Philosophers have a bad habit of saying one thing and meaning another, for while loudly declaring, they never yet have fairly believed that howsoever vast the universe is without may be, yet all each of them grow diminutive and contracted when compared to those who exist within the soul. Nay, they have never realized that all this has been outside of man is met, mastered and overmatched by an infinite universe from within. Crime, folly, what are they? Philosopher, answer thou me. They are, well, I can hardly tell what they really are. I will tell you, these things frequently mark the career of the progressed man, never that of the developed or unfolded one, and in all cases are either the result of impulse, self-obsession, or of bad calculation. When nations merely progress, every jail yard is a gibbet. When the people are unfolded, temples for God worship take their places.